Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. So I thank you guys so much for tuning in to this series that I've had, well the two series, I Kissed a Fraud and then the Hussy and the Fraud. I thank you guys so much for your love, your support, your comments, your encouragement, your willingness to share, your vulnerability. Like, I can't thank you guys enough. I know it's hard and tough for me, so I can only imagine for you guys. I apologize if it was triggering in any way to you guys, but I definitely think that it was necessary to help someone, hopefully multiple people, but at least someone, to get through. If you're going through, been through, you know, trying to get out, that was my sole intent and purpose for sharing this series with you guys. So this is officially the last episode of I Kissed a Fraud, and we are going to title it The Divorce Party. Yay! I want the world to know. I got to let it show. Now, I'm acting like I haven't already been divorced and divorced for months now, but I never actually got to have a divorce party, and so why not have my official divorce party with you guys, and then maybe I'll have, you know, another one sometime later this year. So I never want to get it misconstrued that like I'm celebrating divorce. However, I am definitely celebrating this divorce right here, and hopefully with the things that I've shared with you guys, you have a better understanding of why I'm celebrating getting my divorce, because that was the right decision for me. Okay, it may not be the right decision for you. I can't, you know, authorize or anything, but for me it was the right decision, and I still stand on that today. So it's not like you guys need any more ammunition or facts or anything, any convincing of why getting a divorce was the best decision for me, but I definitely wanted to include in my divorce party some key factors that happened during that, I would say, year that made getting a divorce that much easier, if that makes any sense. So just a quick recap from the previous I Kissed a Fraud videos. You guys will know, if you've been keeping up, that I did basically ask for the divorce in March of 2020, or at least acknowledge like that I didn't want to do it anymore, right? That I kind of wanted a divorce in March of 2020. But prior to March of 2020, in February, and I'll speak specifically to February 14th, which is Valentine's Day, we had a family, you know, celebration together, I guess you would say. We went to a bowling alley, and you know, it was supposed to be all great fun and games. And I don't know, I feel like if I take myself back to that day, I feel like maybe we still weren't in the best of space, because I just knew, like, my heart just kind of knew like something was coming up, right? But either way, we have a good time. His cousin and his cousin's, you know, girl, whatever, meets us there. We leave around, I want to say it was a little after midnight, and when we go outside, his car is missing again. Yeah, so if you guys remember, again, previously his car was repossessed shortly after we had got married, and so this particular time I was so confused, because I was like, okay, he told me prior to this, like months ago, that he had paid off his car, that he had came into some money, and he had decided to pay off his car or whatever. And I thought that was confusing, again, because if we are supposed to be partners, if we are married, right, you would think you would have that conversation with your significant other, not make a huge decision like that and then inform them afterwards, right? So fast forward, when I'm standing there, I'm like, this looks very similar to when his car was repossessed before, right? But then I'm like, but you said you paid off your car. So did you pay off your car or not? Because they can't repossess a car that's paid off, right? Or can they? So y'all, my mind was just so all over the place. And this time it wasn't just, you know, the kids and I, it was actually his family member and somebody else. So for me, that's even more embarrassing and humiliating. But either way, the girl ends up driving myself and the kids back home so that I can pick up my car and then go back to pick him up, because he was staying there with the cousin. And apparently they had called 911. Now later on, I did fact check that he did call 911, but I'm 100% sure he got the car repossessed again. So from February 14th to about, I would say maybe February 28th, he continued with the whole, I guess, story that his car had been stolen. Although in my heart, it just kind of didn't sit right, right? So his birthday approaches at the end of February, and I make the decision to take us on a family trip to Vegas and to book a nice hotel at, I believe it was the Venetian. And then I also gave him an envelope filled with money. So yes, I don't do this regularly for regular folks, but for my husband, this is something that I wanted to do. So in that envelope, it was $2,500. So yes, a lot of money, I know, but for me, it was just like, this is my husband. This is something that I would, do. I want to celebrate him. So this is what I'll do, right? And the day before we left for Vegas, he said he wanted to stop and look at a car. He had looked at a car out there and he wanted to check it out. So we go to check out the car, and I feel like he told me like right before we were supposed to leave. So that was already surprising. But either way, we go to the dealer. He test drives the car and he asked me to go with him. And so I just didn't like the car. Like, I didn't like the situation, but I didn't like the car. It was really loud and I was just like, yeah, no, I'm not feeling it. And so when he went to go talk numbers and run papers and all that, I stayed in the car because I just wasn't happy. Plus, I didn't know that I would have to drive from Vegas to California, and like, I wasn't ready for that. So either way, he ends up coming outside and basically just pulling off. And so he doesn't even tell me like what happens. I had to like ask. So I'm like, well, what happened? And he goes, oh, they wanted a co-signer and they wanted this, that, and the other. And basically they wanted a whole bunch of stuff because clearly, obviously, his stuff was crap. And that was the reality of it. His credit was crap. His, like, everything was crap. So either way, we come back home, and when we come back home, I want to tell you guys, it had to be like days later. Like, it literally was days later. It was like March 4th, 3rd, 4th, something like that. His car mysteriously appears. And when his car mysteriously appears, it had minor scratches, but other than that, the car was perfectly fine. So mind you, he had like a DVD player in his car. DVD player was still there, radio still there, like pretty much everything was still there. And so he basically claimed that the police said that it was probably some kids, joyriding with his car. They left it on the side of the road, and now he has his car back, right? So again, y'all, by this time, it's just not sitting right with me because like I told you, his car had gotten repossessed previously before. And so fast forward, I'm gonna just fast forward a little bit. I definitely found out that the reason he was able to get that car back, because I know it was repossessed, was because I gave him that $2,500. Crazy, right? Just crazy. So you figure that was early March, and then shortly after he got his car back is when I made the decision, like, you know what, we should just go ahead, get a divorce, all of that, right? So you guys know, all the while I'm sleeping on the couch, and of course I'm kind of battling with myself, like, is this the right decision? Am I making the right decision? Although all this stuff had happened, of course you kind of go back and forth with yourself. But I want to tell you guys, I want to say this is the single-handedly thing that made me solidify, like, I need to get a divorce, was my son's birthday. My son's birthday is April 5th. Not that I had to think about it, but his birthday is April 5th. And because it was during like COVID time, of course we couldn't have like a, extravagant party. So I had to get together at home with, just some close family members. And I remember that particular day, he did not come out the room at all. So when we wished my son a happy birthday, he did not come out the room to wish him happy birthday. And for me, that was, I think, the first time that like I broke. And my mom was here. My mom was able to see, my devastation. Of course, his daughter was here, and she basically was like consoling me, like, it's going to be okay. I don't understand why he didn't do it. And so I remember I went into the bathroom and I was crying, right? And for me, it was like, I never want to be with someone that will... So for me, I remember thinking that I never want to be with someone that would not celebrate a child, okay? Because my son was turning, I think he was turning 11 at the time. Was he 11? Turning 12. He was either turning 11 or 12. And so for me, like, he's a child. He did nothing to you. Why would you not come outside the room to sing happy birthday, right? But all the while I had been taking care of his daughter immensely, emotionally, financially, like everything, but yet you couldn't do this for my child, right? And so for me, I think that's when I kind of knew, like, yeah, no, this is the right decision, right? Then of course, later on, everything else happened that just confirmed why it was the best decision. But that for me was probably like the moment. So as I've shared with you guys, I share with you guys the things that I went through during the marriage, the things that I went through going through the divorce, and then actually leading up to the divorce. I remember one of the highlights of my grief, I guess, was me asking God, like, God, why did you allow this man to be in my same space? So like when he moved into like the unit right next door, for me, I didn't understand. I was like, God, I don't understand. Like, he could have moved anywhere in the world, but yet you put us like right here next to each other. Like, why, right? And of course, I didn't understand in my grief, but the more that I continued to heal and it just kind of like made sense, I was like, God placed him here so that I can see everything, so that he can reveal everything to me. Because had he left, I wouldn't have seen certain things. I wouldn't have saw the female's car. I wouldn't have saw you know, any of the moves that he was making had he left. And I wholeheartedly believe that if it didn't work with the chick, he was going to try to weasel his way back in, because that's essentially what he said when he got his place. He was like, oh, you might decide that my place is better and we can move to my place, right? And so I'm so glad that I saw everything for what it was. Like, I didn't try to paint a different picture. I accepted everything as it came. And I believe that once God had revealed everything that he wanted me to see, he allowed them to leave. And so for me, I'm just so grateful that now looking back, that I can thank God for that. Because yeah, in the beginning, I definitely didn't. I was upset. I was distraught, like, God, why, you know? And so I'm so grateful that God, he might not reveal it right there in that moment, but over time, he definitely does reveal it to me. So I hope that you guys have seen the amount of growth that I've had from the time that all of this happened to even me sharing this with you guys through these series. So I hope no bad blood, no grudges, like, I'm really good. I just wanted to share this with you guys so you see why I move the way I move, of course, moving forward. But all in all, like, I really am in a great space, and I honestly look forward to what 22 has for your girl. I'm so excited for the answered prayers. Like, I have prayers that I have prayed, and some have come to fruition and some not yet. And so I'm excited for what's to come. In my marriage, I know that I took a lot of things off the table because of who I was married to. And that was one of the things that I was so excited about getting a divorce, was the things that I can put back on the table. So whether it's being in a healthy, loving, safe marriage, I put that back on the table, okay? Whether it's having, I don't know, a child with my husband, I put that back on the table. And so just there's some other things that I just had taken off the table, and now I feel amazing that they're back on the table and that opportunity can possibly happen. And I'm hopeful about it. And so I think that from the things that I've shared, you guys have seen how God has truly just covered me, kept me, blessed me in spite of it all. And so from the emotional, spiritual, everything, financial, like, I've seen so much blessing, so much growth in those areas. And surprisingly, you guys have played a part too. When I decided to make my YouTube channel, it was because I literally was at a crossroads. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do moving forward, but I knew that I wasn't being fulfilled. And honestly, I think that's what it came down to. I wasn't being fulfilled. And so when I came up with my brand name, RhythmNBeauty, that's because I love all things music and all things beauty. So me sharing with you guys my love for music while putting it to a makeup video or a wig review or whatever, that just made me start to feel fulfilled. Now, of course, I didn't know that maybe about, I want to say, a year after I started my YouTube channel is when I got laid off from my job. And when I got laid off from my job, that's really when I went like super hard, okay? And by having my YouTube channel already established, that afforded me the chance to pay some of my bills. It afforded me some luxuries. Like, I remember I got a new car during the time that I was laid off, and it was based solely off of me being a content creator. I remember they didn't ask me for like paycheck stubs or anything. Just the fact that my credit score was where it was, like, they were like, okay, fine. And so when I made the decision to stop doing YouTube because I was going through the divorce, I'm glad that I made that decision, because I didn't know, of course, later on that he was going to try to take half of my earnings or half of my brand. And so now that the divorce is final and he decided he no longer wanted it and the judge did not approve that, I'm just so grateful, because my YouTube channel was a blessing when I got laid off, and then it was also a blessing in my divorce, unbeknownst to me, because although I wasn't on YouTube, because COVID had happened, I was approved for a grant for thousands of dollars during that time. So yeah, since I was blessed with that small business grant due to COVID, that was ultimately the reason why I decided to move forward with finalizing the divorce, because although he owed me money, I didn't have to wait for that money anymore. I was like, God not only blessed me like once, twice, triple, like he, I don't know, quadruply blessed, whatever the word is. So yeah, he truly blessed me, and I also saw financial growth just in the decisions and the moves that I've been making since getting out of the marriage, since getting a divorce. Like, he's truly blessed me. So I definitely believe that he has given me beauty for my ashes, and that he is going to continue to do that. I'm excited for what 22 has in store for me. I'm excited for what 2022 has in store for y'all. So I'm not sure just yet what the next series will have in store, but make sure you stay tuned, because like, it's gonna be great, okay? And so I thank you guys so much for everything, okay? For your likes, your comments, your everything, all right? And I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video.